Happy 2024, everybody. Now that the year has come to an end, we wanted to take a look back at the biggest news stories of 2023.
And there were a lot.
Yeah, to say the least.
It was a weird year.
And there was so much to cover from this year that we wanted to break this down into the 10 biggest announcements. So we're not going to look at the news in general. So like, for instance, the Fury crack was a very big news story, but that wasn't an official announcement or anything. So just because there was so much to cover, we needed to simplify it. So we're just looking at the 10 biggest announcements.
So starting off at number 10 is something that's kind of been talked about for a while, but Portaventura officially going up for sale.
And you know who might be buying them? Universal.
Yeah, so we're looking at a lot of stuff related to Universal on this list. So I'm going to just preface this now.
Yeah, but this is something that still hasn't officially happened. Universal has not acquired Portaventura, but we did see various things throughout the year that has led us to believe that that is going to happen, such as a website in place, lots of different trademarks filed for Spain specifically. There were like patents that you can find at other Universal parks.
So if Universal does acquire them, good for them, because that's a great park.
I think that would be all around just like really, really exciting. So hopefully now that 2024 is here, when we do this video again in a year, I imagine that Universal officially acquiring Portaventura could be on the list.
They're expanding just like crazy, so I would not be surprised.
For sure. At our number 9 spot, we have an official announcement for the first ever Axis coaster, which will be making its debut in Saudi Arabia. I mean, this has been a long time coming. People have been wanting an Axis coaster from S&S for years and years and years. They debuted at like the worst time right before COVID. And so just for one reason or another, we hadn't seen one until now.
Yeah, and I think that the Axis is definitely going to be like a revolutionary coaster. Because there were a lot of coaster announcements this year, but we wanted to kind of just zone in on the ones that were like really huge news. Like, this is like a brand new model, and it's so dynamic, and it could be used for so many different things.
Sure.
Like, it could be so thematic.
Yeah, well,
and whatnot, you know?
That's exactly what this one is going to be. So it's going to be completely indoors. It's going to make a circuit around twice with a launch. So it's not going to be a long ride, but because it's indoors, they can put all this like really cool theming elements around it. It's going to be an awesome experience, and hopefully, if anything, this leads to more Axis coasters being produced in the future, because once you sell the first one, then people can go out and ride it and say, wow, I want one of those in my park.
What's the plural of Axis? Axes?
Axes?
Axi?
Axes, maybe?
I like Axi.
Axes.
Multiple Axi coasters.
We need accents.
Anyway, at the number 8 spot, this is something that on the surface was very surprising, but then the more we thought about it, we're like, oh, you know what? This actually makes a lot of sense. And that's Rocky Mountain Construction merging with Larson.
Yeah, so here you have a roller coaster manufacturer and a largely just flat ride manufacturer that are coming together. The idea was that during economic hardships, they can pool together their resources, band together, they can share leadership, they can share space, so they can like manufacture different parts both in Texas and in Idaho.
For a second, I'm like, it sounds like you're skipping ahead to a different thing.
There's another merge coming up later.
We'll get there.
But this is still a pretty big announcement.
Yeah, and RMC, as much as they make amazing stuff, their portfolio is pretty limited.
This opens them up to just way more options. Like, Larson has tons of rides around the world, and not just at permanent amusement parks, but also fairs.
Yeah, and for like an 8A, I guess we'll call it, the Wild Moose being introduced, you know, like kind of for them expanding more to like families and stuff like that instead of just high thrill seekers. So.
RMC's broadening their portfolio. Maybe that's what we'll call this one.
Sure.
And at the number 7 spot, we are bidding farewell to the launch on Lightning Rod. They are putting in a chain lift to increase reliability on the state-of-the-art RMC. So the world's first launched wooden roller coaster is no more.
Can't say I didn't see this one coming.
This was a bummer, but also that thing is just so rarely ever open. It's like so frustrating. It's like, all right, we're going to Dollywood. Will Lightning Rod be open?
Probably not.
Who knows? Maybe. And so now their goal is that they can keep this thing up and running as much as possible. Every other ride at Dollywood is like pretty consistent, pretty reliable, and this one is not.
The thing is, we've seen Lightning Rod change so much from when it opened. I mean, it went from being all wood to having half iBox track. They changed the launch speed, and now it's like kind of like a different ride. It's like a Ship of Theseus thing. Like, is it still Lightning Rod? Is it the same ride anymore?
Technically it is, but I don't know, man.
Sure feels different.
After you ride it with this high-speed chain lift, it is not going to feel like the same ride. I mean, I think that they said the idea is that you go over at the same speed, but I mean, the best part about the launch was that initial kick at the bottom, not the speed that you're going over the top at. So
Hopefully this is it, though. Hopefully they get it right this time and they don't have to touch it again.
Absolutely.
Coming in at number 6 is something that I would say is a pretty big blow to the themed amusement industry, and that was the closing of the Galactic Star Cruiser at Walt Disney World.
I did not see this coming.
I did not either. And it's not like it's something that was important to me. Like, I never went and I didn't plan on going. But I feel like the fact that it failed is a deterrent for future projects that will involve heavily themed experiences.
Oh, sure. And how many times have people talked about how Universal needs to build like a Hogwarts themed hotel, or Disney should do a Haunted Mansion inspired hotel? And now it's like, well, are any of those ever gonna happen? Like, they're definitely gonna be less likely to go through with it.
Yeah, and I mean, the biggest thing people talked about was the price tag.
Sure.
And it was huge. We're looking at like about $6,000 for a 3-night experience?
2 night.
2 night?
2 night, 3 days. Yes,
okay.
kind of. I wouldn't pay it. No way. Like, there was no scenario where I would have paid to do this.
If I was like really rich, I probably would have done it.
I'd much rather spend that money going to Asia. $6,000. You can do a coasting through Europe of your own on that much and still have money left over. To me, it was a no-brainer. Like, why would you do this?
But the thing is, it is a very expensive operation. You know, there's so many character actors and whatnot. So, like, is the price tag justified? Probably not. But I don't think they could have lowered it that much more. And I think that's kind of why they were like, this has to end.
Yeah. I mean, they're keeping the hotel there. They're not demolishing it. So maybe they'll turn it into a more traditional hotel experience where it's just Star Wars themed, but it's not like a 2-night adventure where you're like...
in a story. Like, you're in a Star Wars story. It's...
now you're just at a hotel that's Star Wars themed.
Yeah.
So... which brings us to our top 5, and this was a big deal. We finally got an announcement from Cedar Point about what is happening with Top Thrill Dragster. After it closed down, it sat there for about a year, and there were rumors that when it came back, it wasn't going to be in its same original form. And that's definitely not the case. Zamperla is redoing it.
So this is something that people were kind of speculating about for a while, that like it wasn't going to be Intamin and Zamperla might be the ones doing it. And like we didn't actually get a formal announcement until this year about it. So, you know, for people who don't necessarily buy into rumors, it was like, oh my gosh, wait, really?
Yeah. Well, and I feel like this was just a huge deal for Zamperla. I mean, the whole thing is they've been redefining their portfolio. They poured so much money into R&D, just like beefing up their coaster division. So like the same company that we've known for like Thunderbolts and Valaris is just not the same company anymore. Like,
what? I'm fine with that.
Yeah, you have so many more people on here that are like dedicated to like, hey, we want to be real competitors and players in this industry. We want to be up there with the big guys, B&M, Intamin, and stuff. And so,
I mean, you know, starting off with Top Thrill 2 is sort of a way to do that.
Huge. And those trains are super comfy. We sat in them at IAPA. Really, really impressed. It's going to be pretty cool to ride this one, for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited. So remember that thing where I said we're going to be talking about Universal a lot? We're back. So for number 4, we have the Universal Park that was announced for Frisco, Texas. That was right at the beginning of this year.
Yeah. So back in January, they announced we are doing Universal Kids Resort. So Universal's first of its kind park designed for family specifically, like younger kids.
And it looks awesome.
It looks really nice. I mean, we don't have any official announcements as far as like what is going to be in the land, but they did update some concept art.
I think I saw SpongeBob.
I think I saw SpongeBob too. And it seems like they're going to do like their own take on Jurassic Park, maybe an area for trolls and minions. So it should...
Shrek.
Yeah.
The swamp.
I think it should be really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's not going to be as big of a park as some of these others. It's like their take on...
perfect.
Yeah, I'm imagining like it's the equivalent of like Sesame Place, but probably done up the way Universal would.
I think that this was a brilliant move.
Yes.
I think it's a brilliant move, and I think Disney's probably kicking themselves that they didn't do it first.
Yeah. Well, and think about it this way. Location-wise, it's also very smart. Just outside of Dallas, you're putting a Universal Park in the middle of the country, which right now they're only in Florida and California, at least in the United States. So, like, this is a big deal. It's going to open up their audience to just way more. People are going to go to this park. Kids are really going to like it, and then they're going to grow up and want to go to the other ones.
Yep.
It's very smart. We are now at our top 3, and we need to head back to Saudi Arabia for the announcement of Falcon's flight. This was the formal unveiling. We got stats, we got an animation, and this is going to be the biggest roller coaster on the planet, and it's not even close. It is destroying records.
I can't even believe it's real.
I can't either.
Like, I know that it's real, but I'm still like, I think I have to see it with my own eyes to be like, oh, crap. Like, that's a thing.
I feel like that's the general consensus, especially since it's so far away. Everyone's just kind of in the state of disbelief.
Well, some people still are like deniers. They're Falcon's Flight deniers.
Well, it's under construction. It's being built. The question is, will it actually open? I mean,
sure hope so. Intamin has worked so hard on this.
Yeah. A lot of people put in a lot of man hours to make this thing happen. And so, like, I hope that all their hard work is able to pay off. But yeah, it's opening alongside a massive park, Six Flags Qiddiya. So there's a bunch of roller coasters in this besides Falcon's Flight. But I mean, this is the main one. We're skipping the 500-foot barrier. We're going straight to 600 feet.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting one for, like, the roller coaster manufacturing world. Because did they find the limit? Can it be bigger than this? So are these records that will never be broken again? I don't know.
I think there's a very decent chance these records never get broken.
Yeah. We're back to Universal again. I told you we were going to talk about them a lot. Universal, Great freaking Britain.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. And you know, we said that this is official announcements. Universal confirmed that they are looking at this plot of land in Bedford, which is just north of London. So they have said that the park isn't 100% going through. You know, they still have to do their initial tests and research to make sure that everything's like going through. But things are looking very, very good for this.
Very, very promising. Yeah. And I think that it is brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely brilliant, because Europe doesn't have a Universal park.
Nope.
At all.
At least until maybe Portaventura happens.
Yeah, well, I know. You might go from 0 to 2 really quick. But right now, if you want something that's like IP driven, you know, like the Universal parks, the Disney parks, if you're in Europe, your only option is Disneyland.
Yep.
I hope that seeing Universal just popping off right now is going to make Disney like shaking their boots. Like, we got to do something.
They won't.
You're right.
They won't.
But like, there's a little part of me that's like, maybe.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. But like the Universal Park in Texas, we don't have any confirmation yet of like what intellectual properties will be in this. They said that no creative decisions have been finalized yet. But I think this is something that, again, like by the time we do this video again for 2024, we're going to find out more information about this over the coming year. Like 100%.
Yeah, and I think really right now their focus is Epic Universe.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to break ground on anything until that is like done and like opened.
Yeah. Which brings us to our number one spot. And
I wonder what it is.
You all know what it is. This was just unbelievable. I don't think anyone saw this coming. Holy crap, Cedar Fair and Six Flags merged.
Well, I will say that it has been tossed around a lot of times about like one company kind of taking over the other, like
SeaWorld,
SeaWorld and Cedar Fair. Or, it's been tossed around, but I think
the fact that this happened,
was like, wait, what?
Yeah, so I mean, their plan is to become one big company. They will be known as Six Flags. Assuming that it 100% goes through, it still has to like be finalized by I think the Trade Commission.
Yeah.
Just making sure that it's not like violating any laws with like monopoly or anything. But I don't think it is.
Technically, no, because there's a lot of other companies doing theme parks. Like
exactly. Well, and there's not a ton of overlap in regional markets with Six Flags and Cedar Fair. There's a couple that get close, but for the most part, they're pretty spread out. So, I mean, this really helps even out both companies' portfolios. And everyone's wondering what is going to happen. Like, how is that going to change how these parks are going to be run? Because, I mean, it's no secret that the Cedar Fair parks, for the most part, are nicer than the Six Flags parks. But Six Flags is oftentimes willing to go riskier. They're willing to try out something new, where Cedar Fair likes to play it safe. So how is all this going to play out?
Well, then you got Salim Basul came in, and he liked to play it safe. So maybe that was part of what helped put this together.
I don't know. We have Salim on the board of directors. Richard Zimmerman, the CEO of Cedar Fair, is now the head of the entire company. So Cedar Fair has just a little bit of an edge over the Six Flags.
51-49.
Yeah, it's just a little bit. So, but
I'm okay with that.
The idea here is that we will eventually get one big pass that'll get you into all the Cedar Fair and Six Flags parks.
That's so weird.
Unbelievable.
If you want to hear more about our thoughts on this, we do have a whole video out about it.
It's like 20 minutes long.
Yeah, and then we even recorded more and put it on Patreon. So
yeah.
There's like a whole lot of us talking about that out there. So
yeah,
we'll skip the pomp and circumstance of that and just say it's been a year, guys.
Yeah, 2023 was crazy. There was a lot of stuff that we definitely did not expect to happen. But I am very intrigued to how 2024 is going to go. Hopefully all positive things.
I mean, I would argue that a lot of these are positive things, like moving in a direction of growth. And,
absolutely. Yeah. We do want to shout out a couple runner-ups. So these are mainly like roller coaster announcements that we didn't particularly feel like needed to be featured in the top 10, because the reality is new roller coasters are announced every single year, and some of these we've known about for a bit. So like Hyperia at Thorpe Park, like that's been talked about for years now. Voltron at Europa Park.
The Vekoma Super Boomerang coming to Great Adventure. I mean, that's going to be like our first big high thrill Vekoma, modern Vekoma coaster in the U.S.
There was a new theme park that was announced for Oklahoma that we'll have to wait and see what happens with. American Heartland, if it comes to fruition, is going to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And then also Mindbender close to Galaxyland. That was a shocker. That was definitely a sad one.
For sure. But I mean, a lot has happened this year. I feel like a lot happens every year, though.
Yeah.
The theme park industry is a really fun one to be a part of, because it's always got to keep changing, and they got to keep adding more things and evolving and creating, and otherwise you're going to lose the interest of people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what keeps people coming back.
Yeah.
It certainly keeps us coming back. That's for sure. So let us know down in the comments below, what were your favorite stories and things that came out from 2023, and then what are you looking forward to with 2024? So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Happy New Year!